So Kodiak is Berachain's native liquidity platform. And what this means is that we are the number one place to launch, trade, and LP any asset on Berachain. And so our core product suite consists of a full range AMM tied in with a concentrated liquidity AMM. On top of this, we have an internal automated liquidity management layer. And so you can kind of think of this similarly to Gamma or Arrakis built on top of Uniswap that's natively built into our DEX suite.
BM. Today we're diving deep into the world of decentralized liquidity management with none other than Bera Rodman from Kodiak. We're gonna talk everything about the Panda Factory, Kodiak Islands, a little bit about Boyco, everything DeFi on the chain that has a bear on it. Welcome, Bera Rodman.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. We've been trying to get this podcast recorded for quite some time, and today is finally the day. So super excited to be here, and really appreciate the invite and having me. So
let's dive in, brother. Usually I like to start from the start. So can you tell us a little bit of your background? What did you work before crypto, and how did the Kodiak finance idea came to life?
Yeah, absolutely. So my career started as a software engineer. I went to school for CS, and while studying, really became quite interested in trading. And so really just started paying attention to the crypto markets. At the time, this was right before DeFi summer, and I ultimately just thought there was like a lot of opportunity in all of DeFi as a whole. There was less than 1 billion in TVL. And that led to a lot of inefficiencies in the market. And so really my first wins in the space were doing a lot of like manual arbitrage. And so this was very similar to the kind of kimchi premium that happened back in the day with centralized exchanges. However, a similar phenomenon was happening on chain. And so some friends and I would build out various like arbitrage strategies to kind of maximize these gains ultimately. And that really led me down the rabbit hole of DeFi. Ultimately wanted to try to build kind of these longer hold, buy and hold strategies that would really own like blue chip DeFi assets such as Maker, Aave, and Curve on a longer horizon or on a longer time horizon, and use various strategies like yield farming, liquidity provisioning, as well as arbitrage to maximize exposure to these assets. At the end of DeFi summer, this strategy ultimately didn't quite work out, but I never left the space. So I dabbled around in NFTs, dabbled around in gaming as well, and this ultimately led me to joining a pretty prominent venture firm. And so I looked at a lot of we were a general kind of purpose fund, if you will, or our mandate was pretty generally our mandate was pretty general, and we invested in all verticals of crypto. And I was really tasked as like the degen of the team. So it was my job to explore different ecosystems, explore a lot of the new projects that were kind of coming about. And one of the ecosystems that like I was looking into was Canto at the time, and they had a very similar kind of degen and like mimetic cultures, very similar to Berachain. However, I ultimately felt like the team or the foundation and kind of their go-to-market was not as structured and was not as well put together as Berachain. And once I kind of had this realization, I really saw like a huge opportunity on Berachain. And at the time, there really wasn't a lot of teams. There really wasn't a lot of teams like taking Berachain serious, or at least the narrative hadn't formed as much as it has, or it hasn't come to fruition as you have seen today. And I really saw like a lot of opportunity to kind of make a mark for myself in the Berachain ecosystem.
If I'm not mistaken, Kanto wanted to rebrand to move to Berachain because they had the Cosmos SDK, right? And the project kind of failed, and then they want to shift to Berachain or something.
I don't necessarily know if that's true, but they were another Cosmos blockchain at the time. And for those that maybe aren't so familiar, Berachain was also kind of bucketed in the Cosmos ecosystem at the time.
That's how I found out about Berachain, because you ran validators in the Cosmos ecosystem.
Yeah, and they were very like close, or they were kind of, I guess they were somewhat synergistic, right? But one of the things that really stood out was Berachain's emphasis on the ecosystem and the community, right? And what I had noticed is that, like, ultimately Canto had this kind of fair launch, right? But they kind of struggled to attract a lot of like institutions and serious players. And I noticed that Berachain did this really well while also emphasizing the community and the ecosystem projects, and early on had realized like the value of a blockchain ultimately comes from the products that are built on top of it, right?
Can you tell me what kind of challenges did you face early on your journey into DeFi, and how did you overcome them to shape the current iteration of Kodiak? I mean, I know for sure that you've seen a lot of problems in DeFi, because there were and there still are a lot of problems.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think this is like a bit of a multifaceted question, right? I think when getting started with Kodiak specifically, there was definitely there was kind of this hill to get people to take us serious, right? At the time, there really wasn't a lot of like serious Berachain projects, I think, and kind of convincing people that like, hey, we are serious about building on Berachain, serious about building this DEX was definitely a bit of a hurdle. Additionally, our kind of initial goal was like to solely bring concentrated liquidity to Berachain, and we had to figure out a way to kind of make that work with proof of liquidity, and that's ultimately how we landed on the design of a full range AMM tied in with a concentrated liquidity AMM, and then building this automated liquidity management layer on top of that.
Let's dive in on more. What exactly is Kodiak Finance, and how do you guys aim to revolutionize liquidity management, and what are Kodiak's main products right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So Kodiak is Berachain's native liquidity platform, and what this means is that we are the number one place to launch, trade, and LP any asset on Berachain. And so our core product suite consists of a full range AMM or full range AMM tied in with a concentrated liquidity AMM. On top of this, we have an internal automated liquidity management layer. And so you can kind of think of this similarly to Gamma or Arrakis built on top of Uniswap. That's natively built into our DEX suite. And we've since expanded. Since it's been about a year and a half, 2 years since we started the project. Given that we had a lot of time on our hands, we expanded the product suite quite a bit. So one of the products that we're most proud of is the Kodiak Panda Factory, and this is our version of a no-code token deployer akin to something like Pump.Fun. We've gone ahead and added a lot of features that we think are quite innovative and move the needle on that front. Additionally, we have the Kodiak Options platform. This is an on-chain options suite built in collaboration with the great team over at Strike. We run one of the top Kodiak top Berachain validators, and additionally, we have been developing the Panda bot, which is a Telegram trading service or Telegram trading bot native to Kodiak.
So if today I'm a DJ, I have all the necessary tools with Kodiak if I want to trade.
You're all in one place to trade, launch tokens, provide liquidity, all natively on Berachain. Our core and only focus is Berachain. We don't build products for any other ecosystem, and yeah, we kind of live and die by that ethos.
That's a good ethos, because I've heard other Berachain folks that at some point in time they want to go multi-chain. So it's good to know that you guys are very grounded in everything Berachain.
Yeah, I mean, I think generally speaking, with DeFi and different applications, there's a really great opportunity and a pretty large opportunity to build natively to a specific ecosystem, right? And you can do this, or you can kind of see this with dexes themselves. A few examples include Aerodrome on Base, Camelot on Arbitrum. Historically, you had like Spooky Swap on Phantom, and so many others, right? I think that when you expand into this multi-chain strategy, it should be something that you do once you have product market fit, once you have a core community, once you've already been successful on the first network that you chose to deploy on. Because you're ultimately fragmenting liquidity, you're ultimately fragmenting your community base and user base. And so like from day one, we were solely focused on Berachain. And yeah, you can see this with other verticals as well when it comes to lending markets, LSTs and LRTs, etc.
Okay, before we dive into Kodiak more and talk about all the products in a little more detail, you've been pretty busy with Boyco. Can you tell us exactly what Boyco is and how was the experience so far?
Yeah, absolutely. So Boyco is a Berachain wide campaign that has been built to really enable and attract liquidity for the various Berachain applications on day one. And so Royco is the platform that has enabled this. Royco itself is an order book for incentives. As a liquidity provider, you can kind of put up different bids in terms of the incentives that you'd like to receive. As a protocol, we can accept that, and we can also make offers on our end, and it's really a fair way to negotiate for incentives. And I think one thing that a lot of people don't necessarily know is that over the last couple of years, a lot of the like best yields in DeFi have been privatized, right? These end up going to institutional capital providers, liquid funds, and different and whales of various size. And these opportunities aren't really presented to the broader crypto community, and that ultimately is against like the overall ethos of crypto and the fact that we're all here to be in this open and decentralized financial system or rebuild it, right? And so Boyco kind of does this in a public manner. And so, yeah, Berachain has put up a pretty significant amount of of Bera incentives for this campaign. And what this means is that we'll have liquidity for both stable pairs as well as volatile assets on day one, right? And as a user, what you can expect is a lower slippage and better trading execution environment for day one of Berachain. Whether you're a protocol launching your token and kind of routing through these pairs, or if you're a user that's just looking to trade stables, trade ETH, Bitcoin, etc. on day one.
Thank you for this. Talking a little about thinking about Kodiak Islands, how do Kodiak Islands simplify liquidity management for users with minimal effort?
Yeah, so with concentrated liquidity, generally speaking, it gives you a lot more flexibility in terms of what you can do with your liquidity. It allows you to be much more granular in terms of how you actually provide that liquidity on the underlying DEX. However, for a lot of users, this is pretty complicated and it's not necessarily like the easiest thing to understand. And so what we've done is we've actually tried to obfuscate as much of the complexity away from the user, and provide these set and forget vaults that you can take a pair of assets or even a single asset and deposit them into. On the back end, we manage this liquidity for you, yet you still get some of the benefits of concentrated liquidity, such as enhanced capital efficiency and better fee earning.
And what exactly is the difference between the Kodiak Islands and the Sweetened Islands? Because I really like those names, but sometimes they can be a little bit confusing. So the Sweetened Islands are like a layer that uses Berachain's POL mechanism.
Not necessarily. So the Sweetened Islands are just so we don't actually have a way to distribute like additional incentives such as Kodiak incentives as well as partner incentives directly to the islands. And so the Sweetened Islands are just our form of like DeFi farms, if you will. And so as a user, you take your already deposited liquidity, you take your liquidity that's already deposited into an island. You can lock that into our Sweeten Island or our Kodiak farms, and earn rewards in the form of Kodiak incentives as well as partner incentives.
Nice. I'm feeling about Panda Factory. Um, how does the Panda Factory simplify launching new tokens on Berachain, and why is particularly effective for high volatile assets, like especially meme coins? Because
Yeah.
we are in this meme super cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think throughout the last year, like you could argue that Pump Fund has been the most successful product in all of crypto, right? And what they did is they really democratized the way that we launch tokens and enabled you to create tokens in as few as in as few as 4 clicks, right? All that you need to do is add an image, add a token name, add a description, and you can launch a token in seconds, right? And I think like one of the things that's really cool is now anytime there's like a current event or some big news event, you go on Pump.fun and you can almost see that information faster than you would on Twitter or faster than you would on the news, right? And it really just enabled anyone to become an asset issuer, anyone to create a token for any use case to speculate on. And so we saw that take off on Solana specifically, and it's probably been the strongest use case for new users and Solana generally speaking for the last year 2 years. And we wanted to do something similar on Berachain. We ultimately, like with all of our products, we definitely are pretty like UI and user experience focused, and we wanted to kind of have our own unique twist on this. And so we have a ton of features that like aren't necessarily like enabled right now, but we've emphasized the UI side of things quite a bit, and we think that it's one of the best like user experiences when it comes to a product like this. But we're also thinking about things where like we're also thinking about aspects that are not necessarily like so extractive to the community, right? I think throughout the last year or so, like the total amount of fees that have been just net taken away from the ecosystem from products like Pump Fun are over $500 million, right? Which could have been circulated back into the Solana ecosystem. And so like we've definitely focused on that quite a bit. And then on top of this, we've just enabled deployers to have a little bit more customizability when it comes to the actual launchpad itself. And so with the Panda Factory, you no longer have to only pair tokens against Bera, for example. Let's just say that I think a great example here is kind of like the blockchain or Harry Potter Osama Sonic Inu token in community. If they wanted to launch derivatives, they could actually pair that against the HPOS token or the ticker Bitcoin token, and that ultimately drives volume to the underlying or like parent meme, as well as the newly launched token.
I mean, if they want to launch like a Sprotos token, they can pair it with the ticker Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly. And so you can do that with any token on Panda Factory. You can do that. You can do that with stables. You can do that with Berachain itself. You can do that with other meme coins, and we think that this will just be really fun to see on Berachain. And one of the additional features that we'll have kind of out of the gate is the fact that you can now customize your bonding curve. So you're no longer limited to this kind of standard 69 market cap bonding curve. If you want to maybe launch a token that trades up until like $2 million market cap, you can do that as well. And so this will just give deployers a lot more like customizability when launching through the Panda Factory. And it also attracts more like legitimate projects, in my opinion, because one of the things that we've seen in recent months on Pump Fund is like very legit startups kind of trying to use this as a way to find product market fit and kind of do a fair launch, right? And so this will give them more optionality when launching their tokens. On top of this, like we're constantly thinking of like new features and new ways that we can improve the product. We've been working on some potential anti-snipe features that will be toggleable at launch, and a ton of other features that like just kind of move the needle and keep innovating on this like no-code launchpad idea.
Yeah, I really want to see. I don't know, is it possible at some point in time we could eliminate everything the sniper bots? In theory, is it possible?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of like anti-snipe functionality that you can do, but I think as a developer, you need to be cautious of this because anti-snipe features can also be seen as like they're also kind of rug features if used the wrong way, right? And so you need to really implement them with the proper safeguards and ensure that they're used in the way that they're intended to be.
You talked a little about the B options. How do they enhance the trading experience with Kodiak's ecosystem as a whole?
Yeah, so the Kodiak options kind of site itself, it uses concentrated liquidity under the hood. And so we just wanted to give people like more options when it comes to trading, right? So if you're an options trader, you can now, rather than only being able to trade spot assets on Kodiak, you can kind of use these options to get additional leverage. Um, and yeah, you can build some pretty cool strategies around that with our Islands product as well when it comes to like hedging and whatnot.
So I'm a user, could be Degen or not. I have the DEX. I have the Panda Factory if I want to launch my coin or ape into coin. I have B options. I have the Panda bot if I want to be on Telegram and just do everything on my phone. And I also have the validator where I can delegate, or how do you name it now in the Berachain, delegate BGT to you folks. Are you going, regarding the validator, are you going to work with LSTs like infrared, Berapo, and stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like we have pretty deep synergies with infrared already. So like for all of those that are familiar with Boyco, all of those deposits will actually be eligible for infrared staking on day one. But I think when it comes to our validator, the validator is really interesting because it really aligns like all of the stakeholders within the Kodiak ecosystem. Whether you're a token holder, whether you're a BGT delegator, whether you're just a Kodiak community, you can kind of rest assured that like we're going to be using the validator for your best interests and focusing on Kodiak assets and kind of pushing the Berachain rewards towards Kodiak related products and asset pools.
Before we get to Q5, do you have any new future integrations that you want to discuss, or are you just concentrated right now to launch with all the features that are planning for mainnet?
Yeah, so we have like we have a ton of products, right? And it's definitely a lot to manage. However, like some of them have been developed with some pretty great partners that are kind of white labeled as Kodiak products itself. So it's really an extension of our team, right? And so we'll definitely be heads down just improving our products on a daily basis. But one of the great things about the Berachain ecosystem and really like the business development that we've done over the last year or so is that like let's just say that you don't like the Kodiak interfaces and you don't like our products, right? Kodiak is completely composable, right? You can go and trade with different Telegram bots. You can go and trade with different terminals. And ultimately, a lot of this stuff is built on top of Kodiak. So it's like we don't necessarily like it doesn't necessarily affect us too much if you're like not using the Kodiak interfaces themselves, right?
Because the backend is more
And
important here and the concentrated liquidity.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a DEX, right, like we don't necessarily care if you're using like the Kodiak interfaces. It's more so what's important to us is that these trades and that the volume kind of lives on Kodiak, right? Um, but like our whole ethos and like part of and from day one we've always been focused on giving our community and users as much optionality as possible, right? Like while we love to provide these products and we want to do the best that we can to provide these services, we also want to enable you to have as much choice as possible. So if it's trading through Ooga Booga rather than our interface, if it's trading through Banana Gun, right, Shogun, all of these great tools and all of these great builders that have been focused on Berachain, you can do that, right? And we'll have deep integrations from day one that enable that.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, that's the most important thing, those deep integrations. Is the user's choice where does he want to trade and everything.
Right, and I think like when it comes to like the liquidity itself, right? Like throughout the last year, we've done a ton of work to get integrated with various lending markets. You can use Kodiak as collateral in a ton of different applications, and this liquidity can be rehypothecated across the entire ecosystem, right? So you can deposit Kodiak LP positions in Dolomite, borrow against that. You can go to Bera borrow and neck the stablecoin based on your Kodiak LP positions. You can take a Kodiak LP or island position. You can deposit that in marginal and get additional leverage to trade on, right? And all of these things just give our community more to do with their liquidity and give them more optionality from a user and liquidity perspective, and grow the entire liquidity pool that is on Berachain.
Is it me or is it the smell of DeFi summer?
It's a Bera Summer 2.0.
Kodiak was part of Berachain's Build a Bear Accelerator program. How has this experience shaped Kodiak's development, and what support or learnings did you gain from the program itself?
Yeah, I think I think Build a Bera really like they really do a great job and position themselves very well as like a value add like stakeholder, value add participant in our protocol, and whether that's like product direction, sort helping with like fundraising intros, and making like other business development intros. Like I don't think Kodiak would be, I think like like we definitely have like a all-star team in my opinion, but like their kind of guidance and support along the way has definitely been very helpful, and very grateful that we've been able to work with the team and folks like Sammy at Build a Barrel.
I also like that you guys started the Bodiac School because basically it aims to educate and empower users within the Berachain ecosystem, and I feel that's very important because, to be honest, if you're not in crypto, nobody understands crypto, and even if you are in crypto, nobody fucking understands what they are talking in the Berachain ecosystem. So I really like this initiative from you guys. And can you share any specific outcomes from the program?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually just concluded our Bodiac School of this week earlier today, and so while we do manage and operate like Kodiak Islands internally, one of the things that we'll have after the first few weeks of mainnet is third party automated liquidity managers. And so today we had some of the great folks over at JonesDAO. They've been building in this space for the last couple of years on Arbitrum, and they'll bring a lot of their expertise over to Berachain. And so they came in, educated a lot of our community on how to use their smart LPs and how they can benefit from some of these managed positions. Last week, we had the team over at Strike come and educate folks on on-chain options and how to fully utilize Kodiak options. Next week, we're going to be doing an episode around Next week, we'll be doing an episode around the Panda bot specifically, and onboarding folks to that product. And the first one was based around the Panda Factory, where some of our most engaged community got access to the beta of that product a few weeks earlier than what we just launched today. So
Let's touch base a little bit about who Bera Rodman is, because I want to know what was the toughest personal challenge you faced and how did you shape your leadership style? I mean, dealing with DeFi and crypto is not an easy task.
Yeah, I mean, I think like crypto is a very cyclical place, right? You go through really great periods of like boom and bust, if you will, right? And I think like post 2021, I was like, I was on top of the world in 2021 DeFi summer. I think like all of us were. We never thought it was going to end, right? And then abruptly it does, right? And if you're not smart enough, or if you're not prepared, the tide flows and you're left without your pants. And so like that was definitely a pretty rough like experience for myself, and kind of it will mess with your confidence, and it'll mess with your confidence, and it'll put you in a position that you're maybe not really expecting, right? And this is when, especially when it's an industry that you've kind of given your entire life to, and like it's everything, you don't know where we're going. I think it can be really tough to kind of stick through that and grind through that, right? And like I think like going through all of that process really taught me how to like stick with something, and really true glass through it all, and smile while doing so.
Yeah, I mean, it's very hard to explain. Somebody that doesn't work in crypto, it's very hard to explain the ups and downs that you go with, because you basically have to face the market conditions that you can't influence, and you also have to face running a company. And you know, as running a company, you get bumps around the way. That's normal, you know. So basically, it's the the double stress.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it definitely has like an emotional strain on personal relationships, lifestyle choices, the like your mental clarity, right? But I think like with anything great, it takes time, and you have to be able to stick through it. I think like yeah, I mean like I love the Elon Musk quote of he's talking about different startups, and he's talking about 99% of the time you're chewing glass, right? Um, but like I think if you're able to perform in a high stress environment, you're really able to do anything you set your mind to, right?
Exactly. That's one of the best answers out there. I mean, you just have to push through. You push through these extreme doubts and exhaustion, and at the end, everything's gonna be fine. Do you have some specific routines or habits to maintain a peak mental performance?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously you gotta focus on your like personal hygiene. I think like especially with like a lot of the degens and like just crypto culture, it's like just be on chain and be on screen for 18 hours a day, right? Uh, but like I think it's important to like to have a work-life balance, and like this is something my mom tells me all the time, is just to make sure that you do that. I try to wake up pretty early in the morning, between 5 to 7 a.m. I try to eat a good breakfast, and I always get my daily walk in. I try to go outside, get some sun before I do anything. And then it's okay to come into the dungeon and work for the next 16 hours.
Exactly. There are this when you go to these conferences, and when in the middle of the conferences or after the conferences, everybody talks that, yo, bro, use a deodorant or something.
Right. And I mean, I think it's like, my co-founder Bertik says this all of the time. It's really easy to isolate yourself, like in a bull market and in an environment where things are moving so fast. But like, you really should focus on like the relationships and your friendships along the way, because those people are the people that are going to support you. Those are the people that will be there to kind of sanity check you, right? Um, and yeah, I mean, I call my little brothers, try to talk to them all the time, try to manage those relationships, and just like enjoy the entire process, right? It's really easy. It's really easy to get jaded in crypto, right? You see everyone on Twitter posting life changing P&Ls, and maybe it's not happening for you, right? And you're just thinking about, oh, when's it my time? Oh, I'm losing all this money trading meme coins, right? But like ultimately, like your attitude determines your altitude. And if you're able to like have a really positive outlook and be an optimist, I think that the optimists always win.
The things line up eventually.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Looking ahead, what new features or partnerships can the community look forward in the next 12 months?
Yeah, absolutely. So today we just released the Panda Factory. So it's been in closed beta for quite some time. We finally made that public. We're depreciating our Kodiak RTO deployment, so we wanted to give people something fun in the meantime. So you can go and you can try out all of these features that we mentioned on the podcast today. You can launch tokens in a couple of seconds. And in terms of like new partnerships, I would maybe not emphasize on that side so much, because there really is a lot of great teams building in Berachain, and these are things that we have been kind of like we've been
Grinding a lot.
engineering the last. Sorry.
Grinding a lot on partnerships for the last 2 years. How much?
Yeah, we've been ideating, and we've been kind of cooking all of this stuff in the dark for the last couple of years, and I think I'm just really excited to see a lot of this come to life.
Yeah, that's some journey there, man, and congrats on that. But where do you see the Berachain and Kodiak in like 5 years from now? For me, for Berachain, I am really, really optimistic. I'm all in now, so I really want to hear your opinion, because Kodiak is the number one DEX on Berachain, right?
Yeah, I mean, like like I take a lot of inspiration from platforms like Venmo and platforms like Robinhood, right? And I think they've done a substantial amount to kind of like democratize and increase like financial literature, right? And increase like people that actually invest. And I would really like to see Kodiak break into like a household name as like as a place to trade crypto and as a one-stop shop to Berachain, right?
How do you feel? How do you feel about chain abstraction? Do you see in the future? Oh, I am on my phone. Apple Pay automatically buys Apple Pay credit card. Bera Kodiak pulls everything instantly on your iPhone button.
Yeah, I think about this stuff all the time, right? Whether it's like crypto on-ramping, whether it's like a Kodiak debit card, whether it's a Kodiak kind of moonshot-esque trading experience. And I think like this is definitely our North Star, right? And this is definitely the direction that I would like to continue pushing the product, and the direction that I would like to continue pushing the protocol. I think like as it stands today, it just takes time, right? We'll need to like I think step one is getting everything launched, making sure that we don't blow up and get hacked. But once things are a bit more stable, I'm definitely going to be pushing our product direction and our focus into things that are more fun and innovative, and yeah, and things that really just like expand the scope of what you can do with Berachain itself.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, something fun that should be accessible to everyone anytime. And right now, it's not. Crypto is not accessible. Berachain is not accessible. It's just for us, the degens, but it should be for everyone, because the chain has a burn rate, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I mean, I think I see like I watch a lot of like Luca Nets and take a lot of like inspiration from what he's done with like Pudgy and now Abstract, right? But when I think of like Berachain more broadly speaking, I really do think it's the place of like fun degeneracy and like I guess like discretionary spending, if you will. And I think that we're gonna be able to unlock a ton with the chain for the chain that has bears on it.
Bera Rodman, we are entering the last chapter of the podcast, and we want to wrap things up with some rapid fire questions to get a sense of where your head's at when it comes to crypto. So for this one, just quick top of mind answers. Besides Berachain, what's got you most excited about crypto these days?
Yeah, I mean, like I think this is maybe a more like I guess I don't know how to frame this specifically, but like a strong thesis of mine has been like a meme coin super cycle for quite some time, right? I think the average participant in crypto and the average user has gotten a lot smarter and has become a lot more sophisticated, and you're not able to like pull off the answer, or you're not able to kind of you're not able to like you're not able to sorry, I'm trying to think the best way to say this, but you're not able, like, historically speaking, right, you were able to like wrap up like maybe products that weren't as important as you thought around like long white papers and like deep technical and documentation, right? And you were able to get the 100x multiple that everyone was like looking for in crypto. And I think like the average participant has has become a lot more sophisticated, and meme coins are really the answer to that, right? I also think that there is like a lot of like financial nihilism and like just like generally speaking with younger people, and I think this is kind of like Gen Z's answer to that.
What's the most underrated and overrated idea in crypto right now?
Most overrated. That's tough. I don't wanna throw too many shots at
You
people.
don't want to bully anyone.
Yeah, I don't wanna make too many enemies here, but I think most underrated is definitely consumer facing trading applications like Moonshot. And I think those are gonna, just give so many more people access to the space and onboard so many people. And I think we've recently seen that with like the launch of Trump, like the Trump meme coin, right? And how many people had never held Solana before versus like 45% of all of the people that bought Trump on day one, it was their first time ever buying crypto.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. 45%?
Yeah, so they did. Yeah, they did some. I think it was. I believe it was Blockworks. It might have been another firm that came out with this research. But after a few days of trading, they looked into the holder analytics and the participants in the Trump meme coin, and it was about 45 to 50% had never held Solana or held no other assets outside of the Trump coin.
Damn. But it still stole all our liquidity, so yeah.
Yeah, that's still vampire their bags, but I think for the space is probably a net positive. And yeah, I think I'm really excited about like all of these like traditional and like very strong founders like Nikita teasing meme coins and like the Venmo founders launching meme coins. I think
The
that's
jelly,
like
that's the one.
right. And it's like, like we've been preaching for years that, having that tokenizing assets is a great way to build community and find product market fit. And it feels like that's finally here. So
An overrated idea. And if you don't want to tell, you don't have to tell.
yeah, let's skip that one.
One piece of advice for founders entering the rabbit hole in Berachain.
One piece of advice that I would have is, like people always say like Berachain's a cult, right? But I would say that it's like a very, very open-armed cult. And I think it's like one of the most collaborative ecosystems that like has really ever like that I've ever been a part of, or I've ever really seen kind of come to fruition. And most of the builders and most of the teams are super keen to partner, whether it's just like on the marketing side, whether it's on like the community side. Everyone's always open to collaboration. And I think if I were new coming into Berachain, I would just try to immerse myself as much as possible. I would try to make friends with the Beras, right? There's so many of them. There's so many different Beras that have different interests and probably have like similar interests to yourself. And I would try to really just, come into the space, have fun and make friends. So
yeah, at the end of the day, that's the thing, because I'll tell you from my perspective, What got me hooked is okay. POL on the technical part is good, great, but what really got me hooked is that the people that I met here have like the same underground vibes like me. You can say cultish, but people with the same interests, hobbies, and stuff like that than any other ecosystems. With good taste in music, good taste in film, a lot of pop culture, a lot of good memes, a lot of schizo stuff, and I
There's
didn't.
a Bera for everyone.
Tell me, what's your favorite Web3 app that you actually use?
My favorite Web3 app. Yeah, I think there's a ton. Like, I'm actually pretty excited to see like some of these like health and fitness apps that come out. Like whether it's like digital wearables, I think that stuff's pretty cool. Um, I think, yeah, I think like again, I think like the kind of like consumer facing like trading apps are really interesting. Um, I'm a big like UI guy, right? So it's like anything that just improves my like user experience, I love. So it's like I'm a really big fan of Rabby Wallet and like the work
Me
that
too.
they've done on
It's
that
the only
front.
one that I use right now. Only Rabbi.
Right, and just improving product experience. Um, I'm a big fan of Hyperliquid and just the speed of which that they list perps on chain and enable like trading of those assets. Um, and yeah, I think those are some of the really cool ones. I'm pretty excited for a lot of this like deep in stuff as well. A really bad
Like Puff
habit of
Pop.
mine is yeah, exactly. I mean, I tend to smoke a little too much on the nicotine and vape pen, so at least I'll earn some coins while getting cancer, huh?
Do you still have time to trade? Because you mentioned Hyperliquid.
Yeah, I think like Kodiak and like from my perspective, like we're building products for the degens, right?
So you have
I'm
to
always trying.
trade because to be in the same mindset.
Not necessarily the same mindset, right? But more so just like I love to trade. It's like what got me into the space. I love speculating on I love speculating and gambling on new coins, right? I think like we're all here for like a few reasons, right? I think for the most part, like most people are here to have fun and try to make a lot of money, right? Um, and I've loved to trade since I was 15 years old, and like you're never gonna take that away from me. So
Once a trader, always a trader.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think one of the things that you could summarize Kodiak by is like built by degens for degens.
Nice. That's a good tagline. That's the last one before you wrap this up. What's a crypto-related topic you've completely changed your mind in the past year?
Crypto related topic that I've completely changed my mind. I think a lot of people think like NFTs are I guess like I think a lot of people think like the NFT space is dead, right? I definitely think that those will be coming back. Um, I think another like I guess like slept on area right now is like gaming as a narrative. I definitely think like the future of gaming is on chain and in crypto, and just like the ethos of like asset ownership. It just might take some time.
That's great, man. That's a wrap. Thank you very much for joining. I know you guys are very busy preparing this Q5 that everybody is expecting from you guys. And thank you for all the work that you've done for the ecosystem.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, excited to do another BlockHunters podcast in 6 months when we've either blown up or on top of the world.
Yeah, I mean, this was just pre-game, man. The real work starts now for everyone, including us as
The real, yeah,
validators.
the real game starts now, and I'm here to play the game. So,
Thanks, man. Have a great one.
thank you so much.